Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Six Figure Entertainer Podcast. I'm Jesse Leiws, hypnotist extraordinaire, but I'm not the world's greatest hypnotist because today I have Jason, the Irish hypnotist. Jason, I'm not going to pronounce your last name because I'm going to screw it up.
Okay, I'll pronounce it for you. It's O'Callaghan.
So it's just O'Callaghan. That is perfect.
O'Callaghan, yeah. But funny enough, it's interesting because I was just talking off air with you there. When I did a show for William and the guys in America, they brought me in St. Louis at the Heartland Conference. They brought me to a place in Canton, in Ohio, and they said, "This is an Irish bar, an Irish restaurant." They brought me in there, and they thought this was great. They said, "Oh my God, you're going to meet so many people from your home country." And I went in and I said to the waitress, hello. And she goes, "Oh my God, you're Irish." And I said, "Yeah, I'm Irish." "What generation?" I said, No, I'm just Irish. I'm not fifth generation. I'm just Irish. And I said, you must have a lot of Irish. Is your owner Irish?" She goes, No, the owner of this Irish bar is not Irish." I said, "Oh, is the manager Irish?" And she said, No, the manager is not Irish." She said, "In fact, you're the first Irish person that's ever been here. We've never even had an Irish person in the Irish bar."
You know what's funny about that? It's become a brand now. It's like going out for Indian food. It's you go to the Irish bar to get drunk.
And I just thought it was so funny in this whole bar's existence as an Irish bar and restaurant. They haven't even had a Irish person in the place.
So and I'll almost guarantee they serve Guinness, probably improperly. And they probably have fish and chips on there, which isn't even an Irish thing.
It's not even Irish. Yeah, it's. But no matter where you go in the world, I was doing a show in Copenhagen in Denmark a few weeks ago, and there's an Irish pub there with no connection to Ireland. Everywhere you go, I go to the Far East. I'm in Bahrain in the Middle East. Doing a show last year, and the hotel have a bar, an Irish bar in the hotel, again in the middle of nowhere. I think it's kind of interesting that we're famous for one thing around the world, and it's not hypnosis.
It's either the drinking or potatoes. So take your pick.
Yeah. It's quite, and I don't really eat potatoes. We don't.
That's because they all went bad during the famine.
Exactly. Yeah. Well, let's not go down that road. But I do talk. I'm good friends with Richard Cole in Canada. He's an amazing guy. And if he mentions Lucky Charms to me one more time, these don't exist in Ireland. We do not have Lucky Charms over here. They don't exist. So it's just funny that there's such a stereotypical. Look, it works well. We're a huge economy. We're one of the richest economies of the smallest countries in the world. Our whole population is only 5 million people in Ireland, yet we have 77 300. So I think in America alone, there's 77 million people with Irish descent. No matter where you go, there's going to be Irish people, apart from Canton, Ohio, where they don't have any. But it's quite interesting. That's what we're famous for. But again, as I said, hypnosis wasn't something that we were famous for until recently.
Absolutely. You brought up something important there, and here's how I'm going to lead into what we talked about before we actually started. You brought up stereotypes. Let's talk about stereotypes and why there's a big myth in the entire hypnosis industry, specifically in Canada and the US, around what you do and what you're going to be talking about at the Performing Hypnosis Summit. By the way, are you online or are you actually coming to Vegas?
I'm coming to Vegas.
Bravo.
I don't normally, so I've normally when a lot of these events are on, Hypno Thoughts, I've been to the NGH conference, I've been to Heartland, I've been to, but they're always on at a weekend, and they're always on at a weekend in like April or August, and I'm booked, man. I'm booked. I'm like, I can't understand why all these guys are off. I'm booked. I'm booked as far as New Year's Eve 2026 at the moment. So that's as far in advance as I'm booked. Even next New Year's Eve, I already have 3 weddings in that day. But the busiest time in my calendar is the summer months when Hypnothoughts are on. So it's trying to get, and I can't. It's not like even if I was to have a night or two off, I got to fly from Europe. I got to fly from Ireland. So it's a 10-hour flight for me. Now, what's great is for you guys and for us, there's now direct flights from Dublin straight into Las Vegas. So 10 hours you go from Dublin to Las Vegas. But again, Yeah, I got to fly over on a Thursday. We got the conference Friday, Saturday, Sunday. I recover on Monday. I got to fly back Tuesday. I arrive back on Wednesday because of time difference and so on. So I have to allow a week off nearly just to go over to the States these days. And with the wedding market, I'm booked years in advance. So the dates come out. I look at the book, and I'm already gone 2 days of that weekend already. So, but this year, because it was January, and my mother-in-law passed away last year, and I was like, I was kind of going, I'll keep putting off this stuff, and I'm getting older. I need to go over again and hang out with all the guys over here, because Grant has been in Dublin when he's been on cruises. I've been with Richard in Vegas. And it's a business. Luckily in America, you've got more of a community. Over here in the whole island of Ireland, including the north of Ireland, there's probably 5 of us. And most, there's myself, there's a great guy who I've been training called Alexei, who's of Russian descent, and he's living here, and he's doing I'm giving work to him that I can't do. There's a guy called Dale Thomas who's up the other end of the country in Northern Ireland, right up the very top of the country. There's
the country or
the country. So the country, the country is split in two. So obviously we got the north of Ireland and the south of Ireland. But I'm in the capital, which is sort of halfway down on the right. But Dale is up in the north, the very north of the country. And he would do a lot of work there, and some work down in the south. He would do a lot of weddings as well. And then there's another guy called Adrian Knight who's been around longer than any of us. And then there's an international guy called Keith Barry, who would be famous as a magician, who done a TV show called You're Back in the Room as a hypnotist. But he wouldn't do our market. He's sort of he would be even known within hypnosis circles. So within my market, there's 2 of us pretty much who have the market dominated with numbers, as regards gigs. Dale and myself.
So let's pause that for a second.
Yeah.
You said you're in a market of 5 million people.
Yeah, population of our whole island is 5 million. If
you look at America, I'm not in the States, but as a Canadian, I look down south, and there's 330 million people or whatever it is. Why are there not more stage hypnotists? Because I think there's only about 50 or 60 guys that are actually making their living doing this in the States. And I could be wrong. Maybe there's 1,000 of them. But from the visuals of it, it doesn't look like it's actually.
No. There's probably. I don't think there's 1,000 of us in the world.
I don't either. Yeah. I think there's probably less than 100 of us that actually make our living from this.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing that you notice that when you go to these conferences, and a lot of the people that I'd be talking to, people like Jason Lynette and guys like that would say to me, they'd say, a lot of the trainings that they do are for people who want to become hypnotists. A lot of people want to become hypnotists, but doing a weekend hypnosis course is one thing, getting a gig is another, and then getting stagecraft, which is the trick. It's not close your eyes, I'm going to do hand lock and bow. That's rehearsal, but getting the stagecraft and dealing with so many different types of crowds, and then getting gigs and getting paid and getting deposits and getting websites, the whole business side of it. Yeah, I would agree that I would even say, I would say maybe 50 guys in the world, actually making, 6 figures or for want of a push of your podcast.
I'd say mid-high 5 figures is where most guys hit, and they have another job that they go to. And that's how it works. Which there's nothing wrong with that. But
I think like a lot of people, I have friends over here who are magicians, and they would say, people keep saying to them, oh, you're a magician, but what's your real job? So because most people will have a day gig, and that's fine as well. I run a clinic here in Dublin. I'm a trained psychologist. That's how I ended up going into hypnosis. So my day job here in this clinic is the weight loss and the smoking and the phobias and the usual stuff, and then my night job is the stage stuff. They complement each other and they don't cross over really. But I enjoy the stage work a lot more these days.
Well, I did therapy for about 2 years, and I said, nope, this is enough for me. So I just couldn't take it sounds weird, but there's a mental burden that you get when you do therapy with other people. It leaches onto you, if that makes any sense.
It's a thing called transference. It's a transference thing that people are loading onto you, and and then you got to get rid of it somehow. So it's more complex than people think, I think.
That's exactly it, and that's any therapy, whether it's the hoity-toity ones or psychology or anything. So I did have specific questions about the wedding market. You were talking to me before we started recording how a lot of Western hypnotists, America and Canada hypnotists, think there's no real wedding market here.
Yeah.
And I'm going to disagree with them, but I'm also going to give you a thought process on this. We're super spread out.
Yeah.
Do you think that affects the market here?
No, not like you can't. There can be no argument against this, and the reason is, like I said, is what's your population in Canada?
Yeah,
you know,
48
million. Okay, you know what I mean. You're not going into the wilderness to do these weddings. The weddings are going to be in Toronto, maybe Winnipeg, maybe the main hubs, the main financial hubs. I can drive across my whole country. I can't do a gig any further than 4 hours away, because if I do, I'll be in the Atlantic.
4 hours is nothing.
But if I drive, you know what? Here's the funny thing about it. This is going to make you laugh even more. I'm not even going to do those gigs anymore because it's too far of a drive. I did my limit. I said to my wife, my limit going into to this year will be sort of 2 hours, maybe 2 hours, 20 minutes. Of a drive. I'm not going any further, because after 2 hours in our country, you go off the motorway. The sort of motorway goes to the main cities, and then after that, it's kind of, and I'm just getting too old. Like I have to have the confidence myself to say I'm going to get a gig in somewhere that's 3.5 hours away, and it's going to be a pain in my ass, and it's going to be sitting in my diary, and I'm going to be going, I want to get an extra, maybe $200 if you want to call it that, to go that extra. And it's like, and then 6 months beforehand, I'll get an inquiry 15 minutes away for $100 less, and I'm like, so I'm just taking the confidence side of things. But anyway, my point is that within the statistics, in this country alone, there's 30,000 weddings a year, and those 30,000 weddings, the average spend is equally around €30,000 or $1 equivalent. So not everyone is going to have a hypnotist. So we're not looking for all 30. They're going to have a photographer. They're going to have there's going to be people, but there's 10,000 photographers. There's 10,000 video guys. There's 10,000 bands. There's only, as I said, realistically, 4 guys you can go to in Ireland, 2 of which will be the main 2 calls, and we're not available, and 2 others maybe. One of them doesn't even advertise, and one of them is new to the market. So myself and the other guy were in the market, and he charges a lot less than I charge as well. That's just his business model, so it's fine for him. So what I find is that the wedding market is wide open globally. I'm talking about, even in England, they haven't tapped into this really yet. There's some of the guys will do some. But I'm talking, when I launched this, rather than just doing the odd wedding here, then I actually launched it as a business, probably hitting 10 years ago. I remember specifically being at a wedding fair. I don't even know what they are. The same.
Trade show.
Yeah, like a trade show. Yeah, for brides and grooms to go and meet people and so on. And I had a stand with the wedding hypnotist, and I was kind of walking back from the coffee shop, and I could hear a girl walking away from my stand going, "Why the hell would you have a hypnotist? What the hell?" Yeah, it was a complete alien idea for her. Yeah. But then what's great about it is, if you can figure this out, and I've been to Boston, to the National Guild, with Tommy V and all these guys, the serious guys, Eric. A lot of these really amazing hypnotists that I'd watched online, and they're all standing around me going, hold on a second, what do you mean you do it at weddings? They didn't correspond logically in their brain. They just can't figure it out. And I said, you got to think about it this way. You got to make the product. The people didn't know they needed Coca-Cola. People didn't know they needed cigarettes. People didn't know, we didn't know we needed social media. And once people see the benefits, and the one thing you see with weddings and why it's so successful is every bride in the world, from India to London to Toronto to Los Angeles, wants something special for her wedding. No matter who you are, no matter where you are, you want something wedding, and you're willing to pay for it. And the reason is, it's a once in a lifetime experience. you know. Well, apart from those Americans who get married loads of times, but for most of us cultured society people, it's one time. So
I'm
that's what.
about to be on my second one, so
Yeah, exactly. So that's my point, is that it's, you know, the majority can, and even if people do get married a second time, the first time they'll always have a big wedding anyway, no matter who you are. So it's just something that I think I can't understand why the Americans aren't looking at it. And it's really going to be a case of the Canadians and the Americans and anyone else in any other country. If you build it, they will come, because they haven't. You're kind of going, oh, well, it's not going to work here. Yeah, because you don't have the videos, you don't have the website, you don't have the persona, you don't have the act. You know, if you create the act and you start promoting the act, then people will go, oh, that's a great idea, I want that for my wedding. You know, and the minute you start doing weddings, then what the shocking thing is, the real surprise is, my biggest customer base is comes from TikTok, because my hypnosis videos are very short. They're sort of 10 seconds, 20 seconds. I do this sort of trademark thing at the end of my gig, because I can't record my gig because I'm on the gig. But at the end of the gig, I'll leave a suggestion after my show, and I'll say, you know, that every time you have a drink, you'll start howling like a wolf. So you'll see all these videos on my pages, my socials, of, you know, these random people just taking drinks and howling, and those videos get shared thousands and thousands and thousands of times. And then, so I'm performing at a wedding to other people who are probably getting married, who are seeing this, we got to get that for my wedding. They're all recording it and sending it to their friends who are also all getting married. And so that's where the market comes from. You're not doing a wedding to a load of plumbers. You know, you're doing a wedding to other people in the same age bracket, in the same demographic, who are probably all in couples getting married in the next few years anyway. So that's why the market, that's what I'm trying to get across to you. If you can build it and start getting a wedding, and then you get a show reel, and then you do another wedding, and then it starts to build until, as I said, I try and keep it at around 100 weddings a year. That's every Friday and Saturday night, which is, you know, you're going to get a little bit more in the summer, a little bit less in the winter. And that's the way that's the way it works here.
So I was part of your presentation last year, and one of the biggest issues people had was, well, brides don't have a budget. I'm not even going to let you answer this. There's weddings that are worth $150,000. They have a fucking budget.
Yeah.
Sorry for swearing and looking directly at the camera. But I liken this to a birthday party I booked last year. I booked a $5,000 birthday party for 13 people.
Yeah.
There's a market there for anything you do if you are willing to do the work to get it.
Yeah.
What are other issues people have as far as mindset goes about getting into this market?
It's I tell you what's interesting is, it's your fee, whether you're in Canada or in America, if you're going to do a wedding in your, let's just say, within your 2-3 hour radius of where you live, you know, your regular wedding, I would be pricing it at around $1,000, you know, $1,000 for 45 minutes. And the difference is with weddings is that you can do, it's not like a prom, it's not like a corporate. I would do, you know, most nights 1, but other times I'll be doing 2. Some nights I could be doing 3. So the way an Irish wedding works, and I can see everyone laughing at that one. We all know the way an Irish wedding is going to end up, but Irish weddings are very fun occasions. They start off, now we've all the Catholic stuff is kind of gone. We sort of get married in the hotel, and then they move into a ballroom and they have a sit down dinner. So what I can do is I say, look, I can do a pre-dinner show. The guests sit down, I bring you in as Mr. and Mrs. whoever, and I get everyone hooping and clapping. And then I say, you know, while you're waiting on the food, on the entree to be ready, let's have some fun. And I do a sort of 40-minute show, and I bring up people and da-da-da. Then I leave there at 6 o'clock, and then I go and they're having their dinner at that 6 to 8 o'clock time, and I drive somewhere else and I do another one at the end of the meal. Because what happens is, at the end of every meal, in every place, in every country in the world, you probably have a band. You know, and a wedding band is pretty standard, yeah. But the band can only set up once the meal is over. So you've got 100, 200 guests sitting there, bored. Exactly, because the band can't get in until the meal is over. Everyone's sitting around, nothing to do. So the sales technique that I have developed and that I use is about avoiding the lull. If you're a bride and groom, look, at the end of the meal, you know, you're going to be finished at 8 o'clock. The band won't be ready till 9 or half 9. They're going to be 1-2ing and setting up. I'll just walk on the stage or walk on the dance floor, and I'll get everybody, keep the party going for 45 minutes, an hour, get people going, have a bit of fun. And when I finish, you go straight into your first dance then, you know. On other occasions, then if that's all busy, I'm booked out these 2 slots, I'll say to the bride and groom, look, I'm booked out pre-dinner, after dinner, but I'm only an hour away. Why don't I pop in when the band take a break in the evening? I'll pop on and do a half-hour show then, you know? So you could make, like, you know, 3 45-minute shows and get $3,000, you know?
So here's something that really bothers me. There's a lot of hypnotists going after the fair market where they'll be booked for 10 days straight or whatever.
Yeah, at a
And they're
discount.
doing 3 shows a day for like $300 a show. Why would anyone, like, they get paid $1,000 a day? Sure, it's 12 days straight, whatever. But you can do better with a wedding booking or 3 corporate bookings, whatever it is.
Well, I think we're all trying to be Anthony Gailey. Let's be honest. You know, anyone, I'm friends with hypnotists from all over the world. I'm friends with a great guy in Sweden who does a lot of stuff, and we spend our days going, yeah, we're all trying to be Anthony Gailey. You know, there's no one in the world that I know who has been as polished and as successful as Gailey. My act, you know, is because Gailey.
Maybe.
Who?
Do you know Wayne Lee?
Well, I know the name, but you'd have to remind me.
He's based out of Edmonton, Alberta. He does high-paid corporate shows, and he has a casino attached to it. So, yeah.
But like even within my market over here, there's a guy called Keith Barry, and Keith is a magician and a hypnotist. He only does the corporate market. He would be starting off, I would say, probably on $5,000 an hour.
Yeah.
You know, roughly, and he would do spots, and he's done everything here. You know, that's why I can't get on the corporate market over here. But why I say Gailey is polished. He is open to everybody. He's getting, you know, $5,000 to $20,000. He's been doing it for years. He's hitting the FedExes of this world, the Coca-Colas, the, you know, who doesn't want to be, you know, he's not schlepping in gear, you know, in the back door past the dustbins, you know, he's not getting changed in the car park, you know, which is, you know, and that's the big difference. I think that's what we're all trying to get, you know, is to that level. And, you know, I find it, you know, in all honesty, I find it very difficult to break into the corporate market here. Well, I'm a former journalist. I have a lot of academic qualifications, but I just can't achieve it. It just doesn't seem to work for me. So it's like, okay, you can just keep banging on that door, and I get corporates here and there, and I get college gigs here and there. But I'm like, well, if I just focus on the wedding market, it doesn't stop. It's not seasonal. You know, it's you know, 50 weeks of the year there's going to be weddings, at least maybe a week or two over Christmas it gets a bit quieter. But I just finished 9 shows in a row on Saturday, you know. And I think it's a good way. I think what's good about it is you mentioned the colleges and you mentioned the fairs, and the good thing is you can still do weddings with that market. The difference is with the wedding market is that you're getting bookings. I might have, I don't know, maybe 60, 70, I don't know, maybe more weddings booked in for 2025. And they'll come in, you know, in the next few weeks, more and more, all the gaps will be filled. I've already got maybe 10, 20 weddings booked in for next year. So what's lovely about it is in a business, whereas you're trying to make a living out of it, and most people don't want another full-time job. They want to be a professional hypnotist. What I find is if you can put, you know, 50 to 100 gigs in your diary a year in advance, the difference with that is, you know, okay, I'm going to do 50 weddings. I'm getting $1,000. I'm covered this year. I got 50 grand coming in, probably another 50 over the year. And then I got another 50 grand lined up in bookings for next year. So it gives you that, you're kind of not thinking about, as I always say, having to go buy a taxi, you know, as a backup, become an Uber driver, because you're kind of going, okay, I have a bit of security, you know, which is very difficult. And then if the fares come in, if you can fit them in, if you do that, if you do the college, you do that. But I just think it's not about getting rid of the market that you're already in whatever jurisdiction you're in, but it's about adding to the market and saying to yourself, okay, these people are getting married. There's a lot of rich people in Canada. There's a lot of rich people in America, and they all want to get married and they all want to have the best day ever. And you're able to provide unique, special entertainment for them. It's going to cost them $1,000. They're spending 30 grand. what difference is that? They're also going to get a load of presents of money on the day. So you're kind of saying, well, look, the only thing people remember at a wedding is the dress, the food, and the entertainment. They don't really remember anything else.
That's it.
So I've been doing weddings with this show for 10 years, and then previously for probably 20 as a wedding singer in a band. So I've done probably 3,000 weddings, and it's the same thing every night. They want something unique, they want something special.
So with that, with your previous history, have you networked with other entertainers to?
No, I don't get it. I find there's a market. I don't advertise my show, so that's another really interesting point. I spend $800 a year with a listing on a wedding website, the biggest wedding website in Ireland, for a supplier. Some people looking, and I get some inquiries from that as well. I get some direct, I get some through TikTok, some through Instagram. But I self-promote myself a lot on videos, and I find that's where a lot of the work comes from. But the work comes from every wedding I do. I'm very house proud. I'm hitting 100%, even if I only get 1 or 2 volunteers, which happens every time. The hardest thing, and this is what I'll be talking about in Vegas, the hardest thing for people to get into their head isn't that there isn't a market there, because there is a market there. If you create the Wedding Hypnotist Toronto and you start promoting it, people are going to inquire. If you got a snappy show reel and some fun stuff happening, you're going to say, this is going to make your wedding so special. Why? Because nobody has ever seen a hypnotist at a wedding. Yeah. You're going to be the first person. Imagine that. You'd mean, oh, okay, great. It's going to be so much fun. Here's some funny videos of your aunt and your granny riding invisible horses across the stage, or your dad howling like a wolf, or whatever, naked audience, or whatever the hell it is. And you got those clips, and you obviously the more you do, but it's just something that's, if you build it, they will come to it. The problem that people have with confidence, and it's a very real problem for those of us who do the weddings, is that you're always a surprise. You're not. There's no poster. It ain't no hypnotist. You're sitting there having your vol au vent and your steak, and next minute you're in a hypnosis show. So, and nobody ever wants. It's the first thing the bride and groom say to me on the night when I arrive to get paid, and I kind of go, they say, oh, by the way, you're a surprise. Okay, great. So now I got to, but that's what I'll do, a run through when I'm in Vegas at my demonstration. I'll do a run through of exactly my show from start to finish and show you how to do it. And the one-liners, the jokes, how I do this, how I do a stage show at a wedding. And it's no different. I trained under Justin Trance. Justin was over here. I did training with him. I've trained with Richard Barker's a good friend of mine. I've trained with Gailey, and I went to Gailey, and the only reason I went to St. Louis was to see Gailey. So I take a little bit of all them, but the opening. I don't know if you've ever seen Justin Trance's show. Have you ever seen?
I have.
Justin and myself are good friends. We did a show here in Ireland 10 years ago. But the opening of my wedding show is the hip 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 hooray. Justin Trance does. Everyone in the room, hip hip hooray. That's my opening of my show, and my my relaxation skits of my lucid limp like a handful of rubber bands line. That's from Richard Barker's show. And my Comstat test, or my arms rising and falling test, are Anthony Gailey. So every training you do is a cocktail. You rob snippets of shows and snippets of ideas and concepts and ideas, and you make them your own. But it's only if I sat and I sit and watch a Justin show or a Richard show or whoever show, and I see this little melange of one lines, and I say that, that's where I got it from. You don't even realize. But it is something that's going to be. I think it can be huge in America, but it's just about the first person to create it as a brand over there.
Well, the thing is, they're sitting at 300 million people in the US. At some point, one of us has to make the choice to break through. You said, not everybody can be Anthony Gailey. Not everybody can be fucking Taylor Swift, right?
Yeah.
We need one Taylor Swift of hypnosis, and it would elevate this whole industry like nothing else. Jason, we are coming up on 28 minutes.
Thank you, sir.
I want to thank you for coming on. It is really, really appreciated. I will send you links to the video when we're done. Is there any closing thoughts before I do the whole promoting the Performing Hypnosis Summit at the very end? Any closing thoughts that you have?
I just think that anyone who wants to be a hypnotist should come obviously there's going to be a lot of us there who are professional hypnotists, who are the guys making the six figures. Let's be honest about it. But then there's an awful lot of people who I've met over the years at these conferences who want to do this. And I always think the conference is a perfect way. There's a lot of conferences for the clinical stuff, but this is purely for stage guys. And also, you're going to be in Vegas. I'm going. The main reason I'm going is the Captain Hicklin thing. I'm a huge Rat Pack fan. I know Eddie Fisher. He used to be Debbie Reynolds' son, so I'm looking forward to that. And also, I'm meeting up with Kevin Lapine over there, amazing guy. I'm hoping to do some stuff with him over there. Like, you're going to the home of hypnotists, wherever you are in the world, from Japan to India to Europe to America, Canada. We're all going to be in one place for one weekend, and it's gets harder and harder to get all these people together because of shows and so on. So, like, just come and indulge yourself and learn from the people who are doing it. I'll be there learning from other people as well. So that's the interesting about it.
The best part for me is Kevin says this in almost every presentation he has. Find the mentor that you want to be. I never want to be Kevin Lapine, but maybe somebody wants to be Jesse Lewis. Maybe somebody wants to be Richard Cole. Maybe somebody wants to be Terry Stokes. Maybe somebody wants to be Jason.
Well, everybody wants to be Jason, but let's leave that.
but that's the thing is often I find that the guys that don't go out and book that show don't have a mentor that is in a area like they are, right? I'm in Saskatchewan, which is basically the Wyoming of Canada. There's nobody here. There's 1 million people in a province the size of Texas. But I'm still making a living. So well, it's doable everywhere.
And as I said, I'm in a country which is on the coast of, we're the last parish before you get to America, and the first one. But what's interesting is our whole population is only 5 million people, which is the equivalent in the UK of like Birmingham, in the UK, or it's the equivalent of maybe Queens in New York. Not even New York, just one part of New York. So if you think about that, wherever you are in the world, and remember, it's not just going to be your state; it's going to be around there. And the great thing with hypnosis is, if you get into it and you get good at it, you can travel around the place doing stuff, and you don't need to bring a band with you. It's you and your suitcase, So that's what's great about it. We travel light. So we look forward to meeting you in Las Vegas, and we're going to be there, and I'm going to be there for all those days, and maybe doing some shows and doing some bits. So I'm really looking forward to meeting everybody over there.
Awesome. Thank you, Jason. We are going to end this now. Everybody, Performing Hypnosis Summit, there's a link down below in the description. Go check it out. The last thing I want to say is, if you think the wedding market isn't viable, well, then you're wrong, because everyone will, well, not everybody, but most people are going to get married eventually. And if you think that the prices aren't there, if you work it on a per show basis, they're there. They really are. And
I think you're right. I think leaving it on this last note is that when people say, I have suppliers who charge less, my answer is always that I have customers who pay more. There's I think what's a great business line is that the Four Seasons hotel manager isn't concerned what the hostel guy is charging down the road, because that's not his market. My market I always try and say to my customers and to people, I say, my product is a 4-star product. And why I say that to people is, I say, a 3-star product, they won't spend the money. A 5-star product, they're going to get a string quartet and maybe a walk around magician. But a nice, 2 working people getting married, they don't have to be millionaires, but they're also not homeless people. They spend 20, 30 grand on their wedding, and they want it to be special. And they're going to spend 5 grand on a band. They're going to spend 2 grand on a photographer. They're going to spend. So why aren't they going to spend 1 grand with unique entertainment like a hypnosis show? And once you sell it to them, it's going to be great for you.
Absolutely. Everybody, Jason O'Callahan, right? I said that right this time?
Said it right, sir.
Perfect. We're going to end the podcast, 6 Figure Entertainer podcast. See you next time. Come out to Performing Hypnosis.